You're locked into the Homegrown GM podcast, where three friends come together to talk all things football. Real, fantasy, and even a better two, we've got you covered. The Homegrown GM podcast is hosted by Jason Walker, Matt Todd, and Nick Pierce. Jason is a lifelong Giants fan that still dreams of the days of Eli Manning. Matt Todd is a Fly Eagles fly all day from Philadelphia and will push you the hell over if you hate on the Eagles. Nick Pierce is the resident spoiled fan as a lifelong member of the Chiefs Kingdom. So pull up a seat, hang out, and talk ball on the Homegrown G-Men podcast.
Hey, welcome back to the Homegrown GM podcast. It's a football podcast. My hot take is that maybe the Saints aren't as bad as we think they are. Potential division winners.
That's a take.
That's a take.
Mine is not so much a take as an observation. Credit to Cincy Jungle. Zach Taylor might be the worst coach to ever start seasons. This is year 6. Going into week 2, they are currently 1-10 in the first 2 weeks of the season. So, slow starters.
So, reaching out there and whatnot, the Brazil Friday night game. Did you see the ending, like the Incubus concert at the end? You know what I'm talking about? Where love hurts. Sometimes it's
I'm Jason Walker. I'm joined here by Nick Pierce and Matthew Todd. And we are going to kick it off talking real football. Guys, games, week 1 in the books. There was some good, there was some bad, and there was definitely some ugly. I will kick it over to Nick to talk about the game of the week that you liked watching the most, or you want to talk about?
Oh, sure. Of course, it's going to be Chiefs-Ravens, because why not? You know, before we get that, I'm just thrilled that football's back. You know, it feels good to just get into a comatose state on Sunday afternoon, being overstimulated from so much red zone that my brain is just coming out of my ears. That feels about right. So, you know, it was good to realize that was 4 hours. What happened? It was great. Chiefs-Ravens starting it off. Fantastic game. A lot of fun. And I think it's clear to say that this is a game where two things can be true at once. Lamar Jackson is the only reason the Ravens were in that football game, and he's also the reason that they lost that football game. That offensive line looked real bad all day long. I mean, when you have Chris Jones walking around the line and just pointing at a guy going, I want you, things are not going great. And Lamar was able to handle that, be able to create something out of nothing, with the run game being at best. It looked good on the opening drive, but even then, it wasn't sustainable. So having Lamar be able to do everything that has gotten him to MVPs, you know, being able to be elusive, escape the pocket, be dangerous with his legs, it was great. And then you get to the last 3 passes he throws. He has Isaiah Likely in the corner, wide open, just chucks it way too far, and Likely actually gets hurt for a little bit there. That was interesting. Then you have on second down the crosser from Zay Flowers, in which it was a high school wide open is the only way I could describe it. I mean, it was very much a blown coverage by Kansas City, and then just threw it 10 feet behind him. And then, you know, having the last pass of the game, it is so close, but a toe is on the line, and therefore it's nothing. I mean, you don't get chances like that to have a chance to sneak one out on the road. Because, yet again, Harbaugh was going to go for 2, and that Chiefs defense was gassed. Looking at that game, the Ravens ran 80 plays on offense. I mean, that is a ton of time to be out on the field. And that team was gassed. The Chiefs defense was gassed. So, overall, a really fun game. Mahomes looked good for the most part. I wouldn't say great, but, you know, that Ravens defense is something not to be trifled with. That is still a really good unit on the other side. And then you have explosive plays from someone like Xavier Worthy, who just decided, I'm going to run super fast on a jet sweep and nobody's going to touch me, which was really, really awesome. And then I thought it was really good for the Ravens overall to see the production that you can get from someone like Isaiah Likely, because I'm sure it is not the plan for that to be an Isaiah Likely game. The Chiefs defense comes into a game, goes, who do I have to worry about? I have to worry about Lamar running. I have to worry about Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews as receiving options. And then if someone else can beat me, great. And Isaiah Likely almost did it. So not a bad loss, and probably an infuriating loss if you're a Ravens fan. But from a team standpoint, that's not a bad loss. You went to Arrowhead, lost by 7, had a chance to win at the end. Like it was nothing to be ashamed of. And if you're looking at it from a Chiefs fan, you go, there's speed on the offense again. And that is just so good to see. You don't need Tyreek Hill out there, but you need someone who can run really fast out there. And that whole offense last year was just slow. So that was a positive thing to see. Also, I am really, really happy for Travis Kelce's back. It has to feel great this week because for once he didn't have to carry the offense. So he just got to hang out, 3 catches, not being worked too hard. It must feel pretty good. So that was the game for me, and to have that be game 1 of the season, that was awesome.
Yeah, it looked like it was definitely, as far as the Ravens go, their game plan definitely was Isaiah Likely. I mean, Mark Andrews was lined up at left tackle for, I want to say, like 63% of the game. Like 3 targets, and only 2 of those, 2 catches. Nothing longer than 4-yard passes is pretty wild. That was part of their game plan, and the Chiefs definitely were able to adapt for sure, because I'm sure that's not who they planned for to really be guarding out there. So they definitely had to adapt.
Yeah, quick notes on that. Rashee Rice, great game. Xavier Worthy, great game. Like you said, took a lot of pressure off of Travis Kelce and just, was more well-rounded. Isaiah Pacheco had a good game. I guess I have to take back what I said about him, but
well, it wasn't a dominant Pacheco game for sure. I mean, I think his longest run on the day was 5 yards, but was used and got first downs when needed.
Yeah, it was used in the passing game.
He's going to get his 1 touchdown, and I mean that's how you win. So
for sure.
Well, I'll go next.
Hello.
And I know what everyone's thinking is that I'm going to talk about the Giants and the dumpster fire that was. And no, you will not get another rant out of me. I'm going to steer clear of that.
It sounds like it could be an 18-week, a rant a week process.
Jason's rant every week. Just pack. Hey, if you're like me and you're a Giants fan, pack it in. It's going to be a long season. This is supposed to be the easy part of the season. Woo! That comes from a real place. Anyway, the game I enjoyed the most was the Cardinals-Bills game. And it wasn't a game that I thought was necessarily going to be particularly close. I didn't think that I like the Cardinals offense. Obviously it was a high scoring game, so I'm not going to say the Cardinals defense played well. But it is hard. It's hard to contain Josh Allen. And, that was a fun game. And honestly, I know the Bills brought the house on that last play, but if Kyler Murray finds Marvin Harrison Jr. wide open on that last play, it's a totally different day. I think a lot of people come out of that feeling. The Cardinals should feel really good about that game. I thought Kyler Murray played well. Greg Dortch had a big game. And if he gets, I don't know where everyone stands on this, but I think in the last 2 plays, I think one of those was a PI, if not both of them. But
yeah, sure.
I'm gonna let it go. I think the Bills, like, I know they're not known for getting dealt at by the refs, but I feel like the refs kind of like nudged them along. But no, it was a good game. James Conner played well. And then from the Bills side, Keon Coleman came down with some really big catches. I didn't look at the stat line before this. I I don't know if Curtis Samuel had that good of a day. I don't have his stat line in front of me. But I do know some people are kind of panicking on Marvin Harrison Jr. I wouldn't, and we'll talk fantasy a little bit later. But even like he was 1 catch for 3 targets for like 11 yards, 8 yards. It's gonna get better, I promise. Like they drafted this guy with the 4th pick of the draft, or 3rd or whatever they were. This isn't. Like, don't hit the panic button. It's going to get better. They played really well. There is going to be a good role for him. They just, again, if he's found on that TD on the last play, I think a lot of people kind of back off that point. Scored 2 catches, a touchdown, and 20 yards or 30 yards. But a really good stat line I saw today was Justin Jefferson's first 3 games was 1 for 4. Then it was like caught 3 for 40, 3 for 40, and then had and then finished the year with 1,400 yards, right? So it's 1 game. I think everyone just needs to relax. The Cardinals look good, though. That's the point. Kyler looks good. Cardinals look good. I'm liking it.
Just to go off of what you said with Curtis Samuel, 2 catches for 15 yards, so not a great day.
Okay.
Matt, what were you going to say?
I think it's an overrated Bills team. In all honesty, I guess as overrated as they can be. The Cardinals did look good, and they'll be pretty fun to watch. I think they're definitely going to compete. I think a little more in their division than originally thought. So they were definitely fun to watch.
For sure. I think the Cardinals are
that I forgot. I know it's hard for teams traveling east, right? Time zone differences and all that, like coast to coast. Again, I think they were up for it. I think they were a little more up for it than the Bills were. And the Bills, they found a way. Whether you want to say it was the refs or not, they found a way to pull the game off. So I tip my hat to Josh Allen, who I think kind of put the Superman cape on and did the job.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the thing for Buffalo is if this team is going to go where they want to go, it's going to have to be a Josh Allen MVP type year. I mean, he is going to have to put on that Superman cape every single week to make things happen. And he's talented enough to do it. I worry about him getting hurt, but I worry about everybody getting hurt because I'm a worry. That's fine. And the other thing I thought was really good to see was I know we got Kyler at the end of last year, and then you kind of felt like, ooh, we actually have this Kyler connection with McBride as a tight end and Connors. All that stuff seems to keep going forward. And that's one thing that you kind of lose in an offseason is like, was this just 8 weeks in a lost season and that was kind of it? No, they really do seem to have some good building blocks on offense. And, sometimes it's hard on defense to just stop a guy that just puts on the cape, man. And that's what Josh Allen did. If I was a Cardinals fan, I'd be really excited. I think that division is going to be one heck of a fight every divisional game. Like, there's not a bad team in the NFC West. So right. I think that's exciting.
Now that they're probably going to split with the Rams, you know what I mean? Probably they could sweep the Seahawks, who didn't look terrible. And I don't think they might be able to not get blown out. Probably covering spreads against the Niners for both games. So depending on what they
I mean, do you think, just looking at it from a quarterback standpoint, Seattle has the worst quarterback in that division? Geno is not better than Kyler. It's not better than Matt Stafford. It's not better than Brock Purdy. So I think that's one of those things where they're going to have to try and find things other places to make up for Geno, whereas every other quarterback is exciting and can make plays on their own.
Long. I just want to talk about, I was really heavy on the Falcons winning this division this year in the NFC South. Just more so over the Saints and stuff. Now, I don't want to negate what the Saints did. I mean, I'm glad they showed the world that the Panthers were not going to do anything this year. I'm glad we've already awarded the first round pick of the draft. They can really just stay home. I mean, their tickets are selling for $1.80 right now. You can get 2 tickets for $1.80 to a Carolina Panther home game. And I want to see if they have any big teams coming because I'm bringing the family. So I got $20. You know what I mean? Like bringing everybody. But I want to talk about the Steelers-Falcons game for just a second. Really weird week 1. A lot of quarterbacks. I think a majority of starting quarterbacks didn't even throw over 180 yards. It was a very interesting week one. The Steelers, though, winning in Steeler fashion, 6 field goals, crazy. I think that says a lot about the Steelers, but it's going to be very hard for the Falcons, I think, if they can't beat the Steelers. Steelers do have a good defense, but I'm surprised Bijan's not one of the people that scored this weekend, and he was actually the second best receiver on the field for them. London with 2 catches, Darnell Mooney with 2 catches, who nobody really talked about being, in my opinion, an underrated wide receiver too, or what should have been coming into the week. My whole view of that division definitely changed this weekend. Not necessarily more the Saints. This kind of wants me to talk about Tampa Bay, which I will here in a second. But I think the Falcons they should be nervous. And Kirk Cousins, his knee, he left it in Minnesota, right next to JJ's. So, God damn, man. It's going to be hard. That's going to be tough. Granted, it's Mike Tomlin and the Steelers, classic Steeler game. But that's tough, man. You got to be scared if you're a Falcons fan, or a Falcons believer, rather, which I am one of those people. We'll definitely have to see how it goes. But I do want to talk about my sleeper fantasy pick, and I just found out he's only rostered in 35% of Yahoo leagues right now. Is Baker Mayfield. Had a fantastic game down south this weekend. He threw 4 tutties, man. That team looked really good. I thought they would be there with the Falcons division, but this team could probably win 11 games and take that division. They do have a tough schedule. They do play some big names, but I think if you're trying to go pick somebody up out there, if you had a shit quarterback like I did in Joe Burrow this week, definitely get you a Baker Mayfield. You need you a Baker Mayfield in your life.
Well, I think just to build off that, Baker, like if you had Jordan Love, I think a lot of people drafted Jordan Love to be their starting quarterback. If you got Jordan Love, he's out 5 weeks, and you get Baker for the next 5, like they're definitely that's a pretty good option. I think he's shown that last year was not a fluke, that he's here to ball. He's here to chuck it around the yard.
And they're clearly comfortable with Baker's decision making, and to be able to do that. They have a good running game, but nothing spectacular. But Baker that guy can sling it. And that's one of the things that just cracks me up watching Baker succeed. And you see a team like Cleveland who has Deshaun Watson just crapping in his hat over and over and over again. And you go, man, if we only had a 1-1 draft pick that had won a playoff game and almost won a second. No. We got to go ahead and kick that guy to the curb. We got to go get Deshaun Watson. But yeah, that team is, I think you're right, Matt. 11 games is not out of the question for a team like Tampa Bay. And from a fantasy standpoint, it's going to be a rough 5 weeks, but they have some good games that Baker's going to have to throw in. They go to Detroit this week. You want to tell me that game could be explosive?
That game alone.
That game could be fun.
Philly in 2 weeks after that.
Yep.
The rematch.
Denver's going to be terrible. And then you have 2 division games with Atlanta and New Orleans back to back on the road, which isn't ever great. And one of them is the Atlanta game is a Thursday night, so those sometimes get weird. But yeah, if you're having to recover from a Jordan Love being out for 5 weeks, or maybe Joe Burrow's hand just isn't going to be healthy, and they're just going to be terrible. That's a great flex option for trying to go ahead and get somebody that's going to throw the ball, and he's not afraid to throw the ball. There isn't going to be a week where Baker Mayfield all of a sudden only has 21 attempts passing. They're going to throw the football. Volume is not going to be the problem.
They have the supporting cast for it. I mean, Mike Evans doesn't look like he's 13 years in the league, you know what I mean? Or however long he's been in the league. It's up there. Chris Godwin, always a viable option, man. I was missing him in all my leagues this year. Right when I went to go draft him, somebody right before me would take him. Rashad White, just fantastic. And then, Cade Otton, he's got the weapons for himself, and he can still move around a little bit. I'm happy for him. I really am. I don't think he's throwing 4 touchdowns every week, but you could probably bet on at least 2 most weeks. The second half of their schedule is definitely easier because, like you said, they have Detroit next week, then they got Philly, Atlanta coming up. Then they have New Orleans, Baltimore, Atlanta again, then Kansas City, and then they finally get their bye. But after that, it's the Raiders, the Chargers. Their next hardest game after their bye is the Cowboys. So,
yeah, they get that soft underbelly of the AFC West, which is everybody but the Chiefs.
Well, before we move into like totally fantasy, right? Mm-hmm. Let me propose this question because I was told by an unnamed source the Falcons were the lock of, if not the year, lock of the century is what I was told by an unnamed source.
Not me.
It was not any of the three of us who said it. We were heavy on it, right? Like everyone. We were, Kirk Cousins is a much better quarterback than who has been there and all that stuff. And we talked about on the podcast. Does it change? Is there a little worry now that New Orleans is up a game, Tampa Bay, they win, Tampa Bay won, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, Tampa Bay is now up a game. And Tampa, now granted, the Saints got to play the Panthers, who I'm gonna put my hand up. Don't take that plus 1,000 back.
Yeah, that was rough.
That was a rough one. I apologize to anyone who did it. I also did. I put my money where my mouth is, and I burned $1. All right, so, but is Tampa Bay the I mean, I guess it's like way too early to like kind of like maybe a week one overreaction, but is Tampa Bay like gonna put up a fight here for the division?
I mean, I think they absolutely have a good shot at it. Just thinking from I always first thing I look at is coach and quarterback, and that's a combination that works. Bowles is was a very good defensive coordinator. He's done a really good job taking what was a very unstable Tampa Bay team after Tom Brady retires and making something out of it. And Baker was a guy that came in last year. I think he was a $4 million player and has taken the best that he could possibly do, rolled that into a contract where now he's, I think, $30 million average per year. Like, that thing is clicking. Now, is it something that I think is necessarily, there's no way anybody else can do it? No. The sport is dumb and we cheer for it, and it doesn't have a round ball. Like, it's an oblong ball. Like, things are going to happen. But I think that's one of those combinations that we've seen can work, can make it to a playoff game. Why not? I think that's one of the things. Atlanta also still has so many weapons, though. Like, you look at that team and you go, how many more games are they going to score 14 points or less? And the answer should be 0. But, yeah, if Kirk's knee is just messed up and can't put any zip on the ball, that's going to be a problem. I did see one stat that I thought was tremendous. When you talk about keying into plays, when the Falcons were in pistol, so that's where they're in a shotgun and Bijan Robinson was directly behind, they ran the ball, I think it was over 80% of the time.
83.
When they were just in standard shotgun and Bijan was directly to the left, it was almost a 90% throw rate. I mean, you wonder why a team can key up on you. And I think a lot of that has to do with, well, Kirk's not going to be under center and then just sprinting back to go get a handoff. Like, that's not going to be the case. It's just not what they're going to do. The leg isn't good enough for it. So they're going to have to find a way to at least switch up some of this to be a little bit less predictable for run-pass situations.
Atlanta out completely, but you got to win the winnable ones. Again, the Steelers being the team they are, they got the tough defense, but this should have been a game that the Falcons realistically win more times than not. Kirk coming off his injury, but New Orleans and Tampa Bay, they both look pretty good. Like you said, New Orleans playing Carolina, but they also, in my opinion, have a top, what could be a top 5 defense, honestly. But Tampa Bay should be the favorite at this point to win the division. If you want to, not necessarily freak out, but if you want to freak out about
it.
It's week 1, baby. That's what we're here for.
Let's go. It's week 1, baby. Football's back. Football. And we are. Amazing. All right. Well, this seems like a good time, as we talked about, Baker, to segue into our fake section of the podcast, our fantasy section. Matthew Todd, is there a surprise week 1 fantasy player for you?
I just told you, but I do have another one.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that. I didn't know that
It was Baker. Yeah.
It was Baker. Oh, okay. Well, then I apologize. Now that we're in this section and it's Baker Mayfield, now that I know, you know what? I'm talking. I'll go. It's homegrown. Maybe we're on a little something homegrown. Anyway, my fantasy player, breakout player of the week, I'm going to take Xavier Worthy, rookie, wideout, X, the big X.
Don't give it to you.
X gonna give it to you. Professor X and his speedy mutants. I thought rookie wise, just he looks so good, and you know I think maybe it's a touch easier when you're in a Patrick Mahomes led offense, Andy Reid. You know, I think it's a little bit easier, but man, did he look good? He looked fast.
Mm-hmm.
Real fast.
Speed jumps out at you.
Yeah. And it was like, you know, like some guys run a 4, what do you run, like a 4.3, or he's like the fastest guy in the combine?
A 4.21 at the combine.
4.21. Like some guys run like a 4.3, and it doesn't always like translate into like their speed with the football. True. With him, man, you could absolutely tell. And so he was a guy who I've drafted. I have my fair shares of Xavier Worthy, and I was wait and see on him, and I, you know, lost some week 1s because I didn't play him. So for those who did play him, for those who had the stones to do it, congratulations to you. But from now on, I really think Xavier Worthy is a week in, week out starter. And I like we've all said, the Ravens defense is good. Like this wasn't like they played some nobody defense, and
they didn't play the Panthers.
Right. They didn't play the Panthers. They didn't play the Giants. Even though I don't know if I say the Giants are nothing defense. But but they played a very comparable defense. He looked really good. He put up the fantasy points. He is going to get you those like jet sweep touches. He is going to get those kind of more manufactured touches, but also Patrick Mahomes is looking for him as well.
For sure. I think one other thing for Xavier Worthy is he might not necessarily be an every week guy once they get Hollywood Brown back into that offense. And that should be, but I'm not even sure if that'll be this week against Cincinnati or when they go to Atlanta. But yeah, absolutely. He's going to be on the field, especially when Hollywood Brown is not available, because they love that ability to have someone that can just stretch the field. Okay, so I'm going to change the tone and tenor. I'm going to bring things down, and I'm going to do something that is important to do as an adult, and that's to be able to say, I'm sorry. Joe Mixon, I'm sorry, sir. I didn't think you had anything left in the bag. Just nothing. I thought you were cooked. I thought you were washed. I didn't see anything like what we got this last week out of you in a really fun game against Indianapolis. Sir, you went full-grown man game on the ground. 30 attempts, 159 yards, and a score. I mean, if you go ahead and get 5.3 yards a carry, yeah, I was wrong. You did great. I'm going to go ahead and say it was Cincinnati's fault. I'm now like Team Joe Mixon in a breakup. It wasn't Cincinnati. It wasn't him. It was all Cincinnati's fault. That's the problem. Joe Burrow was too selfish. Jamar Chase needed the ball. Zach Taylor doesn't have a spine. I don't know what it is, but at least for week 1, it's all Team Joe Mixon. So that was my biggest surprise because, I thought the guy was cooked. But ended up getting, 33 total touches, because that was the other thing. He actually caught the ball a little bit, which isn't always the biggest part of his game, but 3 targets, 3 catches, 19 yards, that plays. So huzzah and kudos to you, Joe Mixon. I raise the sparkling knockoff black cherry drink in your honor, sir. Congratulations. That was impressive.
I love the it was a breakup. And I was fed misinformation.
I was on the wrong side. I didn't know.
I was on the wrong side of the breakup. I'm sorry, Joe. I'm sorry you were in an abusive relationship, Joe Mixon.
Right. I'm glad you got out.
We're glad you got out. Free Joe Mixon, and he's there.
Yes.
Oh man, that's funny. Some notables on our list. I think Aaron Jones had a good breakout. Saquon Barkley obviously had a great breakout game. Great week one breakout. Yeah, that'll teach the Giants.
I think life is just teaching the Giants right now. I don't.
Tony Pollard, great week one. A lot like some of these running backs that made moves to like different teams, and everyone's kind of been like kind of up in the air.
Yeah.
Even Josh Jacobs, like he didn't have the best game, still had a good week one.
Yeah.
And there was and Derrick Henry. I thought Derrick Henry had a decent game.
He had a good first half.
He had a great first.
Well, so did Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard didn't really do too much in the second half, but
no. But
I'll throw as an honorable mention also Brandon Cooks in Dallas.
Yeah.
I mean, not a huge day, but he's clearly option number 2 down there. And 4 catches, 40 yards, and a touchdown in a game that wasn't where they didn't really need to throw the ball much. That was good for you, Brandon Cooks.
Ferguson's hurt, so a
So
lot of knee problems, honestly. Not just Kirk Cousins.
Yeah. For sure.
So as week one is wrapped up and we look ahead to week 2 for fantasy football, is there anyone on the waiver wire that you guys are targeting?
As someone who went 1-3 in fantasy this week, I need to be looking at the waiver wire because we got to bounce back. For me, it's not necessarily the biggest one out there because, let's face it, most of my leagues, I'm not getting Jordan Mason out of the 49ers. But one that I am really interested to see in going forward is Bucky Irving down in Tampa. Now, not a huge name by any stretch of the imagination, but he did a really good job as the second back behind Rachaad White. I was really, really surprised. Averaged 6.9 yards per carry. That'll play. He only had 9 snaps, but ended up being effective. So that's one. I'm not sure if that's somebody that's going to be. He's the guy that changes the whole season for you, but he could be a guy that you go, I need running back depth, and as this season goes along, if it truly becomes a 1-2 punch down in Tampa, he's going to be the guy that gets goal line yardage. He could be a touchdown vulture for you, and also just having somebody that could at least get touches is something that's important. So that's my guy that I'm trying to get in some leagues. Also, if I can go ahead and just say, please come back, Christian McCaffrey. I need you. I can't. Things are not going to go well if you keep just being hurt. I know, and they sure didn't need him to beat the tar out of the Jets last night.
Disappeared, thin air.
Yeah,
he's Fugazi. Just
even if he only plays, in fantasy football, even if he only plays 12 weeks, 13 weeks, 10 weeks, you're gonna feel better about drafting him than not drafting him when he's out there on the field. Now,
sure.
If it comes out he's done for the year or whatever, it's like, well, that sucks. But you knew drafting him that he was already questionable, and you knew if you took him in round 1-1 or at all, that he could be out for an extra week or so. And it's like, you know what? It's like, it's definitely worth the value to grab him wherever you did. Yes. I still think he's a 1-1 value even if he only plays like for 11 or 10 weeks.
It was just he might be a go. And then, of course, it's the Monday night problem where the whole rest of my roster is played and I don't have his backup to cover. And so he's just a dead spot in the lineup. That was hard.
That's what sucks.
Heaven forbid, be better.
Matt Todd, anyone on the waiver wire you like?
Nakua's done. Done for the season. He's done. You didn't see that?
Is he really done for the year? I thought he was going on injured reserve for 4 weeks.
He's done.
I saw 4 to 6 weeks.
He's going to be done for the season, I'm telling you. I thought it was for the season. It could be 4 to 6 weeks. I thought I read that.
That's just not good.
Breaking news here on the Homegrown GM Football Podcast. Puka Nacua is out for the season. No, he's not. We're just joking.
You have to hit me up on WhatsApp.
Yeah. He will definitely be out for at least 4 weeks, but it's probably going to be longer. That's what the initial reports have come out to say.
Johnson, wide receiver, LA Rams, to take over for Nacua. 7 targets, 5 receptions, 79 yards. Didn't get into the end zone. But I trust Matt Stafford. He's still got it in him. Another 2 years for him. That's going to be option number 2, obviously, because Cooper Kupp, I don't think, had a fantastic week. Johnson looked good out there. He looked comfortable. Stafford looked comfortable throwing it to him. He only had 2 receptions all of last year, I believe. He starts out with 5. 7 targets is pretty good for somebody who's only played 1 game in his NFL career. So
a lot of those targets came in the second half, and I'm just going to go ahead and chime in. Cooper Kupp had a fantastic week. 14 catches, 110 yards, and a touchdown. It ended up being pretty good for Cooper Kupp.
I was trying the Puka Nacua thing better.
There you go. Yeah. That was what I was just like.
Hello.
I'm pretty sure Cooper Kupp balled out. Yeah, that was.
Yeah,
he did.
He did. But I do think that it does solidify your point even more though, because he did have like an enormous amount of targets. I want to say he had like somewhere upwards of like 20 in the game. I'm not sure. I don't have it in front of me, but I know he got a lot of targets. And when they have the actual week to game plan better, I do think that the targets will go around more. They can't just zero in on him all day, every day. So I like that one a lot.
I think that's going to work. And then
Mr. Nick's fact checking me right now. Hold on, everybody.
I'm just checking. You never know. Let's see. Yeah, 21 total targets, 14 catches.
21 total targets. Yeah, I mean that's wild. That's wild for someone to have 21 targets.
I mean, that rookie year was unbelievable, and a lot of games ended up looking like that for Cooper Kupp. So,
yep.
They're able to do it and win ball games. But yeah, I think having a good backup plan is definitely going to be the way to go. And I think you're right. I think Tyler Johnson's going to get a bunch of those catches, maybe a little bit of increase for like Demarcus Robinson, because he's at least been in the offense now for several years.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think that's a great pickup.
And
Jason, who are you snagging?
Well, the game is called football, and so I'm gonna pick a team who lost by a foot. And that's oh my god, that was so stupid. We should shut down. My God, I've actually been like, I've liked this guy for quite some time, but I really didn't think he'd get a role until the starter drop. I am actually very big on Isaiah Likely. I thought he's been very good since he's come in. And he's been a really good backup to Mark Andrews. And I've always thought, like, if you ever drafted him, you probably drafted him as like a backup in case Mark Andrews went down, and he is sort of injury prone, right? So, but he had a good year last year when he was the starting tight end, and it was just, he's available in most leagues. If you have, like, he will probably be the number 1 waiver wire pickup for sure. He had such an amazing week, especially in a week where a lot of tight ends didn't perform up to like their highest capability, right? So if you do have if you have a waiver wire 1 option, I'd go for this. If I have Fab, I'm probably going to put a pretty big bid on it. He's just a guy. Again, the Chiefs aren't a walkover defense. He played really well. He's inches away, right, from having two touchdowns and even a bigger monster day than he was already having, and a game-winning touchdown. Everything about it, even like the usage was a little shocking, but I don't see that changing. I don't see why that would change if they're coming out doing it already. So,
if anything, they increase. I mean, Andrew's role, hopefully. That team's got some weapons. You faced a Chiefs team who's probably gonna be the first 3-peat ever. I'm not.
Your mouth to God's ears, buddy.
I mean, I hate to say it. I mean, I have nothing against the Chiefs, even being an Eagles fan. Give Andy Reid every cheeseburger. He fucking deserves it. But you're facing probably a 3-peat champion, and you lose by a foot. fucking fantastic, but they have so much they're going to be able to do with that offense. The O-line definitely shit the bed. But it's only really up from here. I don't see them, I wouldn't be afraid if I'm a Ravens fan of anything. So,
and I think the other thing to take into account is if the offensive line is playing terrible, and it takes time to gel. They're replacing three different offensive linemen on this team. But what's one way you do that? Hey, you run 2 tight end sets. Yep. Well, if I've got Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely, yeah, that feels just fine. We can still be dangerous. Both guys can block, and both guys have good hands. Like this, there's a way that this still works out just fine, even if you have to use one of these tight ends to chip. Okay, Mark Andrews gets a free release. Isaiah Likely has to chip and then be a safety valve. That sounds just fine.
Yeah. Again, like I said, from what we saw, it's not like there's anything that should indicate that it won't continue to happen. Right.
Yeah.
So, all right. Any honorable mentions for the waiver wire list? Anyone got a fun one?
I'm not sure necessarily how fun it is. But you can still find Matt Stafford in a bunch of leagues.
Can still find Matt Stafford.
You can find him in a whole bunch. It's like we talked about Baker. I think, were those the only 2 quarterbacks this week that threw for over 300 yards was Baker and Matt Stafford? If not, it sure felt like that. So that offense is going to keep being good. If you have quarterback problems, why not?
C.J. Stroud throw for 300. He had a big game.
He did have a big game. I'll double check.
But regardless, it was pretty weak across the board. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. I do think if Tank Bigsby is in your league, running back Jacksonville, I think that's definitely a good pickup. Just he got some touches, he got some usage. If Travis Etienne ever goes down, he's going to be the guy. It may not be super sexy now, but it will be sexy later.
There you go.
Alexander,
call that a glow up.
Alexander Madison in Las Vegas, very heavily involved.
I wanted to punch my TV how good he played the other day. I was so mad. I have carried his ass all last year. 2.6 yards per carry. Oh, he's the number one option. I mean, he's going to get touches and just dog crap all year long. Yeah. And then you just see him. I'm like, where the hell has this guy been? I mean, he looked actually good. I think they really have a running back 1-2. I don't think it's going to be the Zahir White show. I think they're going to split carries now because he balled out and decided to go, I got you, Minshew. I'm like, it was awesome.
Zamir White stopped me from taking PTO this week. That's all I'm going to say.
That's fair.
He's the reason I couldn't take off for the rest of the week. Fucking, God damn. Alec Pierce.
To go back earlier.
A lot of leagues as well. Alec Pierce, Colts, Pittman was a little, but the team ultimately still looked pretty good. That was a good, fun game to watch. Houston, Indianapolis.
That was a really entertaining game. I totally agree.
Well, speaking of games and speaking of fun, we're going to move on to our bet portion. Hey!
Time
Warning.
To lose some dollars. 1 cent, 1 buck at a time.
Warning. The following is a view of 3 donkeys making bets for $1. Please be advised and gamble responsibly. We forgot to do that last episode, so I don't know if we're ever going to be liable. No. I'll kick us off because I like this one. I thought Cleveland looked atrocious. I thought Deshaun Watson looked atrocious. I thought the Jags looked good. They played good defense for a lot of that game. Trevor Lawrence looks a little bit better. Give me Jacksonville -3 this week.
Ooh.
Down from 3.5 to 3. Give me the Jags. I don't like Deshaun Watson at all.
No, that checks.
It's not much more than that.
But what do you mean? I mean, he got Kadarius Toney now.
Oh God, yes, that's exactly what you need to add.
That's breaking news for me. We found whoever also just found that out. You and I, we found that out together.
it was the quietest I think signing over. It was like the middle of the day Sunday when it like broke.
Oh yeah, it was. And also, I have issues with clearly. I mean, Schefter and them always just take information straight from agents, but to say the Browns get another playmaker added to the team, that is carrying some water for what that guy has been. And also, the vibes are just terrible.
Yeah.
Like, the guy is talented. I'll give you that. Can't get on the field. Can't stay on the field. And so you're kind of like, oh, maybe if you go somewhere fun, maybe I'll be like, good for you, Kadarius Toney. No, you decided to go to Cleveland and schlep with that muck and mire at the quarterback position. This is what you get. This is what you get. And enjoy the practice squad on a team that hopefully will eventually have Jameis Winston as your starter.
Yeah, Jameis looked
Or
primed on the sideline. He was the best cheerleader. Yeah, he was the best fan. No matter what was going on the field, that man was clapping it up the whole game.
Absolutely.
Give him the shots.
Why not? What do you got to lose besides I think still $160 some odd million on that contract? That could be a backup. It could be a backup.
He could actually lose a lawsuit. That'd be.
Yeah, and the extra lawsuit. Like, dude, there's just so much. There's so many big things just surrounding him. It's just like, and it's just like, my God, how long can he not play well and people still like
say that's the option?
Say that, yeah, right. It's just like, dude, it's like he doesn't play well. He's got so many off-field issues. It's like, why? I get
guaranteed money and a cheap owner.
I
mean,
yeah.
It's the worst. It's the worst contract in American sports.
It took a huge gamble on it, and it did not come out well.
Yeah,
and it failed. It just failed.
Just awful. I mean, good God, the picks turned into C.J. Stroud, and you decided let's go ahead and guarantee everything. It is the worst deal in American sports. Like, I can't think of one where you just go, "Ha, that's up there." This is awful.
I think there's some baseball contracts that might be up there, but
not one I can think of. Because all baseball contracts are guaranteed. That's just how they go. You don't have to guarantee rap in this league. But no. We got to have them. Give them all.
Guaranteed a rub down.
God,
that's about it.
You would have thought he would have ended up in New England with that kind of a deal, but I guess not. That's fine.
But no, to wrap it, give me Jags, the Swaguars -3.
The Swaguars, good.
Give me the Swaguars.
Fantastic.
That's I'm sorry, and I meant to mention this. That's -3 at to cover -3 at -115.
Okay, that's good. Matt, do you have something fun for me to get my moods up from this debacle of talking about the Browns for too much?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna look more towards straight bets and everything this weekend, but I do have a very early 4-leg parlay I wanted to catch some good odds on.
Thank God. What do we got?
4-leg parlay. First off, we're going down to Miami, where Miami definitely will decimate the Buffalo Bills. Fuck Buffalo. Miami looks good. I hope Tyreek gets pulled over again. Maybe he gets 20 receptions, 3 touchdown. Free my man Reek. After that, we're going to go up to Minnesota. Well, I have the 49ers beating the Minnesota Vikings. These are all money line, by the way, no spreads. San Fran over the Vikings. I know we fresh off the game last night. I really think the Jets, though, coming to Nashville, beating the Titans. That's going to happen, I believe. That'll be a fun game. Probably not. It's going to be more fun than I thought it would be, just seeing how both teams respectively played this weekend. And then the 4th leg is Commanders over the Giants. Sorry, that's just. It'll be a fun. I think that'll be an okay game to watch. I just honestly, I believe more in what Washington's trying to do than what the Giants have. So those are the 4 legs right there. 49ers, Jets, Commanders, Dolphins, plus 538. I got it last night, so I don't know what the swing has been so far. But I really like that. I used a bonus bet on it, and hopefully it is a bonus.
Heck yeah. And also, what does this say if the Washington Commanders have a better operation running than you do right now? Like that is not, that can't feel good. It can't feel good. But I'm throwing my money at the same game, which is hilarious. It's going to be awesome. You want to talk about, a pillow fight meant for the ages? This Giants Commanders game, it's just going to be terrible. I don't hate the Commanders. You're starting a rookie quarterback. He looks good. Got some rushing touchdowns. The arm was fine. Seeing an NFL defense for the first time is really hard. And Daniels looked like a guy that was seeing his first real NFL defense. Daniel Jones was Daniel Jones. We could talk about it, but let's not. Anyway, we look at it. This offense is going to be terrible. And for some reason, the line on this game is 44 points. I would feel comfortable at taking the under at 34 points. And if I could get it down to 28 or less with a juicy enough bite at the apple, I might do that. Like, this feels like a game that could realistically end up 17-3.
Yeah.
Like, you can't tell me that it's just, and one of those is a defensive score. It's all bad. Malik Neighbors is going to want to quit playing football by week 6. He's just going to say, this isn't worth it. It's going to be bad. And it's kind of, I have a thing for terrible films. And so if it's bad enough, I'm really going to enjoy watching it. Because sometimes it's fun just watching a team just go 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, turnover on downs, 3 and out, interception, 3 and out, field goal. Like, that could be the line for either of these teams this week. And so 44 under 44 for this Giants Commanders slugfest.
Yeah, I'm more concerned. I would also take. I love the under here. I really do. I'm more concerned the final score is going to be like 27-6. You know what I mean? Like, at least the Commanders put up points. At least the Commanders score touchdowns.
Sure.
At least the Commanders move the ball. It's just like, bro, I'm a fan. I'm a fan at heart. But like, when you're a fan of this team, you have to be real. And I said to another fan, I was like, pack it in, boys. It's gonna be a long season. What the is this? And I could truly see like a game, like, 3 field goals so it'd be like, I don't know, 24-9, something like that. Like, I could truly see a game like that. And the Giants for so long they just struggle, man. They struggle even when they move the football between the 20s. They seem to be okay. It's the red zone and just like no creativity, no accuracy. It all falls apart, and I'm trying not to get heated, but I would take Washington. I would take the under. I'd probably pick Washington to cover the spread at this point. I'm gonna watch every game. I'm gonna put myself through it. And if there are any Giants fans watching this, just know you're not alone. And
I watched the first half with you. I can agree. You called the very first play of the game.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Right to the right tackle, boom, and then their first red zone trip was off of a interception, a turnover,
a fumble. A fumble.
Not an interception.
They get a fumble in the 15, and they go 3 and out to kick a field goal. And it's like, bro, I've seen this story. I've seen it. I've said it time and time again. Daniel Jones is not the answer. Daniel Jones is the biggest thief in New York. He has stolen so much money. John Mara should take it personally. So you should take it personal that Joe Schoen offered that contract to him, and then they got Saquon Barkley scoring 3 touchdowns down in Philly. It should feel disrespectful. It is just like, I said it. I said they should put him on a 1-year prove-it deal. He earned that. But yeah, like he did. I thought he earned enough in a new coaching spot. I thought he earned enough to get a 1-year deal. to say, hey, we're gonna let you start, but we gotta be a little bit better, and you gotta prove it again. And if you get hurt, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know,
I hate it.
And like I think it could have been handled so much better. I don't think Joe Schoen's a bad GM. I just think I do think, however, if you're a Giants fan, 10 years from now, we're gonna remember Joe Schoen as the guy who kept Daniel Jones around. We're gonna remember Brian Daboll because of Daniel Jones. Like, their legacies are being tied to this guy who's sinking faster than a rock in an ocean, man. He's made some really good moves too. That really sucks, but Malik Neighbors is just. I think Malik Neighbors is already counting the days down to next year when we pick up a rookie quarterback.
I'm going to go ahead and throw this out here yet again. Cap number, Daniel Jones this year's $47 million. $41 million in 2025, $58 million in 2026. However, that guarantee number is 0 in 2025 and 0 in 2026. You'll just know that they hate you if he's the quarterback of this team next year. They don't want to win. They don't want you to be happy. They don't want anything good to happen ever. It'll be a vanity project.
He would have, dude. They would have to win 12 games and two playoff games for him to be the quarterback next year. Like, it would have to be something way more than Linsanity, more than like those 4 games that Will Levis played his rookie year. Like, there would need to be some real magic for him to save his job at this point. I think Daniel Jones will make a great backup somewhere. Maybe, but
backups who don't throw touchdown passes, I don't see it.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I know I took over there. So
you're good. I don't. The Giants' defense is going to help them, I think, with this game. The under is definitely a very loving spot here. Definitely. I think the Giants will probably get in there in some kind of way. They'll have to at some point. There's no way, you know what I mean? Somebody's getting a touchdown this week, but 44 points worth.
No, of course. But I remember, if you remember last year, they played 3 full games without scoring a touchdown.
Yeah.
It was tough on them streets.
It was the first touchdown scored was. Oh no, I'm sorry, not 3 full games. It was all of the Dallas game, they didn't score a touchdown, and then the first half of the Cardinals game, they didn't score a touchdown.
Still hard on them streets.
They're all right. It's just it's unbelievable, man, and it's just like Washington. I don't like the coaching at Washington, but hell, they score points.
It's a division opponent, early division opponent.
Yeah,
I mean, but the under is definitely.
It's true. It could just get weird.
Yeah.
It's a divisional game. You're
right. It's going to get weird.
It's going to get weird. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for us. Thank you for joining us. Please like and subscribe to the Homegrown GM of Football podcast. You can catch us on YouTube, TikTok. We're working on Instagram. Still trying to get out there on some of these social media platforms. We are working on it, but we will be back next week, Wednesday morning. Everybody take care. And if you're a Giants fan, you can cry on my shoulder.
It hurts, but sometimes it's a good and it feels right.